What's up, guys? Welcome back to Team Solemn Circus deck profile. Today we're over one of my fan favorite decks. We're going over Branded. I've been playing this deck off and on for a very long time, and of course, with the start of a new ban list with Branded Fusion still being at 3, we're going to be playing this deck for a little bit now, testing it out and obviously seeing what it can do. If you guys are enjoying videos like this, let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys get this video to 50 likes, I'll do a combo video on this deck. If you guys want an even deeper combo guide, we can do an all-inclusive combo. Showing off every possible way you can even go with it, having like a complete branded videos. I know there is some out there like that, but if you guys want to be seeing it, let me know in the comment section down below. Before we dive in, over to like, comment, subscribe, obviously. And this is a 42 card deck, so I'll be explaining some of the options. So we're going to start off with 3 Albas. So the reason why you want to be going over 42 is a lot of times you have to play like multiple of cards that you don't want to see like duplicates of, which is why you can end up going like 42. So in this case scenario, Albaz is a really good 3 of. A lot of the times, I've always been said you can cut it down to 2. But with this like kind of meta, Lab is very grindy. Runic as well is going to be able to banish your stuff, and popping it from your hand and having one engraved doesn't hurt. As well as normal summoning this card isn't always the best, of course. How you have a Luber and Quem, but it also can like break boards a lot of the time going second as well. They're forced to negate this, which is really nice. And then, obviously with this deck, you don't have that much room for, the board breakers or the going second cards. So having, an in-engine going second card is kind of nice. Now we have the 2 Cartesias. You don't need to play 3 of this, especially when it's itself out when you have an Albaz Engrave. It also comes back during every end phase. If a fusion monster sent to the graveyard, a lot of players are playing this in, the Bystial Runic build. So a lot of people are recognizing it a lot. It also gets you into Granganaldo, which is a very powerful card here. Then we are on the 1 Quem as well as the 3 Aluber. You don't really need 2 Quem. I saw people bumping this up to 2 and then playing 2 Alubers. I find if you're doing that, you definitely do not need to play the 3rd Albaz. But this can also dump Albaz, you can dump Cartesia, depending on what you really need. Having a bunch of different options that you can dump. I even saw some people dumping the copy of Albion. And then when a fusion monster is summoned, they can summon this out to go for game. It's really weird, but it just happens. There's lots of cool plays, and you can loop Mirror Jade infinitely with this. If a fusion monster into the graveyard and you have Mirror Jade, you can just bring it back and then just have a Mirror Jade. Really powerful card. And then for the last Despian, we are playing the 1 Tragedy. So we have cut the Ad Libitum. The reason why Ad Libitum is cut is because I wanted to focus on consistency in this build. Obviously, of course, you can still play this. Same thing with the Dragoon package. But, you're going to be cutting down a little bit on your consistency and boosting your ceiling. Which, it's very fair if that's what you want to be doing. But that's what I really like about this deck, is that there's lots of different options that you can play with it. And then for the Dragon package, we are playing the 1 Lubellion, the 1 Sornier, and then the 1 Albion. So no Magnuma. The reason why being no Magnuma is because the Bystials aren't as good this format. If they had tier still in the format, you could obviously play with banishing a copy of a tier card. And then, during the end phase, you can search for a Albaz or even the Albion. But unfortunately, with this deck kind of going into fire type matchups, you really have to be careful what you're using. A lot of time, your Bystial Sornier is going to be banished one of your Mercuriers. Other than that, just it's not that great. Then of course we were playing the 1 Mercurier and the 1 Gaming Puppet Nightmare. I was thinking of bumping this up to 2 and then testing out. If you guys have been a fan of the channel for a long time, you guys know that I've always really loved 2 Mercurier. It's one of my favorite cards. That's just the way that this card works is really fun. But I was kind of testing if I could bump this up to 2 and play either Shadow's Light or playing Allure of Darkness and just a bunch of cool cards like that. But unfortunately, I still want this deck to lose a Droll. It doesn't lose a Droll that much right now. So it's that's why I'm not really worried about it, as well as Droll being a side deck card. And no one's really siding in Droll versus Branded. So that's really my theory behind it. But you still don't want to lose the deck. You don't want to make the deck to lose more stuff. It loses Ash hard enough already. And of course, Gaming Puppet Nightmare because this card's still not banned. So we're going to be locking people. Then for hand traps, we are only playing 5 hand traps here. So we're playing the 3 Ash Blossoms and the double Imperms. I have thought about swapping these 3 2. I've thought about playing talent, or not more talents, the Storms, and then having Imperms in to play around thrusts and talents. But I found that a lot of the times I want to just, end up ashing something correctly. The thing is with Ash such a generic card that yeah, it does play into talents, But a lot of the time, if you do like play against a deck that you can just ash correctly, like saving it for Runic, ashing the Fountain really helps. Even ashing Hugo doesn't hurt that much. Same with an Imperm. Like obviously, it's not the most high impact hand trap, but this deck can like set up really powerful boards or can just break a board really easily as well. So just like that's why we're playing these. But obviously, if your format has like a lot of back row, you can obviously just play like Storms and stuff like that. But like this is really good against a Labyrinth matchup, which this deck kind of struggles up against. And then of course it's good against a bunch of other stuff as well. Being like able to ash the field spell of the Fire King Island just really helps as well. Then we are on the 3 Brand Infusion. This card's at 3, so why would we play any less of it? We're playing the 3 Branded Opening. This card gets you into your Alba or your Quests as well as your Alubers. We're actually on the 2 Dear Servants. This is something a little bit new to the deck. I know a lot of people have been playing it before. We're not playing the heavy Maximus package. I don't think it's really necessary. You know, you're putting all your eggs in one basket for just a copy of the Gaming Puppet. If it gets hit with something that just like banishes it, you know, with the copies of Ghost Spell being now in like in the deck because of Fire King and Labyrinth, you know, this deck does unfortunately get hit with it a little bit more. So I didn't want to like put all of it in there, as well as, you know, locking your extra deck is not always the greatest. So that's only why we're playing only 2 of it. And then of course we were playing the 3 Fusion Deployments. This card essentially just is Alba's deployment, or I should say Branded Deployment. You know, being able to summon off your Cartesia off this, or even an Albaz, depending on what you need, is just absolutely insane. Then we are playing the Super Polys. Super Poly is kind of really good this format, especially going into next format, you know, having Populous and then like Flamebridge, or like Oak and Populous, or really any kind of combination of the cards, especially with the Fire King deck and then other decks as well. Even like Lab, a lot of times Lab will end on 2 monsters. You can just Super Poly them away before they make a Chaos Angel, and you get like have a Garua or whatever else you really want. In combination with, if you have like an Albaz left on the field, you can Super Poly it away. It's also something that you can do that a lot of people don't realize, is that you can actually normal summon Albaz, don't activate the effect, and then just have Super Poly, you know, chain it to the SP or something like that, and then they can't even respond to it. You don't have to activate the Albaz effect to discard a card, because you're already going to be discarding off of the Super Poly, which is really nice. But this card's like extremely good if you just play it correctly. And then we're on the 2 Thrusts. This deck does have a bricking problem, which is why I'm playing the 2 Thrusts, 2 Nadirs. I don't want to be seeing 3 Thrusts as well. I only want to see Thrusts when I get hand trapped, so hence why we're only playing 2 of it. We're only on the 1 Talents because you can search it off Thrust, as well as it being a decent card sometimes. 1 Cob of the Grave, we hate Ash. And the 1 Fusion Duplication, this is obviously for the Thrust. If you get Ashed, you can activate this, and you'll be able to set this, and you can play the Branded Fusion during your opponent's turn. I find myself always breaking on this card, especially when I don't get Ashed, so... But it does come up, you know, being able to actually just activate this, target Branded Fusion, and instead of using your Branded in red to go into a copy of the Sanctifier, you can actually use this to go into a copy directly into Sanctifier, which is the only 3,000 monster that you can make in your deck just by activating a Branded Fusion, which is really cool. And then you just, you know, have your Sanctifier go up. So you have like this in Branded Fusion, and it goes live. You have lots of different plays, which people are not talking about it, which is really weird to me, but this card's really sick. And then for the last 3 cards, we're on the 1 Branded Lost, 1 Branded Red, 1 Branded Lost, and 1 Branded Retribution. So I do want to talk about the Ghost Spell in the room here. So Ghost Spell is becoming a lot more popular, which is why I like this deck. People are like, oh, well, why would you want to play this deck in this format? You know, Ash and Ghost Spell are really prevalent. But the thing is Ghost Spell negates activations. So Lost becomes extremely important in this because it prevents the negation of activations. So if you have Lost on the field, you can still activate Branded in red, and they just can't do it. So it's just like, okay, that's fine. You just essentially just wasted a card that doesn't really do anything for us, and then we get to still trigger our Branded in red. We get to activate the effect, and then you just know you have a Branded Lost on, or Branded Opening, or my bad. They have a Branded, a Ghost Spell in the hand. And what's really cool with Lost is that you can actually just go Lost and then activate, like, when you go Branded Red with Lost on the field, you go into your copy of the Sanctifier, and then on the summon of Sanctifier, you can just activate the effect. They can't respond because Lost is on the field, and then you just get to lock them anyways. And they're like, well, my Ghost Spell's dead. So that's for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck now. We are on the 2 copies of Mirror Jade. Some people are playing 1 of this, and I think that this is absolutely crazy. You can cut it down to 1, but if you do cut it down to 1, you have to be very careful about how you're going to use this card. Without the ad libitum in the deck, I think that this is a card that's mandatory too, but that's just me wanting to get into those grind games, of course, with this card being absolutely insane. 2 Albion, very standard. 1 Lubellion. I know Unicorn is sneaking back into the format with Cashier now being free, but the thing is this is a rogue deck. If you're going to be playing 2 Lubellion for that exact reason, then you're just not managing your resources correctly, as well as Dragoon's not in the deck now. So this is going to always be shuffling itself back, and if you're not, then you're probably in the winning position and you're doing some really suboptimal plays anyways. So yeah, you definitely need one of these because of the fact that like Dragoon as well as Cashier Unicorn is now not there. But yeah, we're on the 1 Rainbrum. This card's crazy. 1 Titanic Lad. This is kind of if you want to send it off of the Nadir Servant. You can also send the copy of Quem or Lulu Wylith off that to get your Quem and Cartesia on the field, which is very nice. But this is obviously also a good send if you already use your Rainbrum. The 1 Sanctum Fire for our last Albaz Dragon. Gaming Puppet's still live. I don't know how this card's still legal. Then for your other fusions, we are playing the 1 Guardian Chimera, 1 Granganol, and of course the Granganol package, which is the Lulu Wylith and the Quertus. Some players have cut this. I think that's absolutely wrong, being able to summon this out, as well as, this being a really good super poly target as well. Slapping this on the board, having your opponents have to play like something really big to destroy your stuff, and of course having a Guardian Chimera to back up your plays and destroying 2 cards on the field and drawing 1 is very nice as well. And like this, just having multiple options to be able to send or summon off this, like a lot of times you don't actually want to go for the Lulu Wylith, or you already have used the Lulu Wylith to like dump off into your Servant. So obviously at that point, then you have to summon out a Quertus, and then when Quertus gets outed, they actually summon out an Albaz as well, which can like just loop your cards, which people are just not really remembering, which is kind of crazy. But and then for our last copy, we are playing the Dracosopelia, the Garua, as well as the Mud Dragon. So I really wanted to fit this card in to the deck, but I couldn't find a space for it, and I didn't value it over the copy of Quertus. So that was my really biggest problem, was like I wanted to find a way to put in this, but when looking at like the deck, like this is pretty mandatory. It is part of your branded package as well as Super Poly. This goes with your copy of Super Poly, as like you have to play these 2 for sure with Super Poly, but this also has coverage with your copy of Granganol, being able to dump this as well. And then like I cannot see me playing this over Mud Dragon, but this card's extremely good, especially going up against those warrior boards, with Barone SP. This just deals with both those threats, and a lot of the decks are ending on those 2 cards, so it's obviously a really good, as well as we're not playing a bunch of hand traps, so a lot of the times they are going to be going uninterrupted and making those powerful boards, and then just being able to super poly them away for a copy of Gilfried, and they're like, well, that just really sucks for them. But I just found myself wanting to use this more in testing, so therefore it's in the deck. But this could 100% be a good addition and coming in the future. Regardless, that is the deck profile. It is at 42. We're not going to be showing off the side deck because the side deck is still a work in progress, of course, but you are playing Thrusts, so obviously you're going to be able to play those cards like Herald of the Abyss, Duster, and other cards like that, as well as like double copies of Evenly Matched for that kind of grind game. But ultimately, it is up to you guys for a side deck at a local scene. It does depend on your locals level, but regardless, hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, want to see more content like this. Stay safe. Peace.